Hey, welcome to another video from Discount Ted. Today I'm introducing a new car to the fleet. We have a 2008 BMW 135i. I just purchased it on Cars and Bids from a gentleman in Hawaii who had it all prepped for NASA time trial, time attack stuff. And I'm going to use it as a HPDE, and maybe I get into doing time trials myself. I don't know. We'll see. But, it's an addiction, and here's one more evidence of it. So, today, I literally just picked it up from the shipper, and I asked the previous owner, hey, before you took it on any road trips, is there anything you would do? And he said, well, it's been sitting a really, really long time, so I'd probably at least change out all the fluids, which is a good idea anytime you get a new car, period. But today, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to change the oil in it. I got plenty of Mobil 1 040. I got Fram and I think Mali and I think Wix filters for it. I bought a bunch of them off of Rock Auto because I was placing an order and needed to fill my cart to make the shipping worth it. And I'm also going to flush the brake fluid. So I've got my Motive brake bleeder. I've got ATE Type 200 fluid. I like the ATE Type 200 fluid. The RBF 660, I think, from Motul is generally preferred by people. Maybe I'll switch to that later. We'll see. I think the big difference is the RBF stands up to a whole season as opposed to the Type 200. If I'm doing 5 or 6 track days, probably going to do 2 or 3 flushes, which is not great. So without further ado, I'm going to get the camera set up and we're going to learn how to change oil on this guy together today because I've never done it. So we'll see you soon. Okay, I'm now under the E82, and what I'm looking for is the oil drain. Now, this screen guy here looks like it was something, but that's not it. Instead, it's actually right in here. You can see there's my drain bolt. So I'm going to put my pan under it. It looks like it's probably a 17 millimeter. That's what almost all of these are. And I'm going to get some gloves on and some rags, and we'll get it draining. All right. So now we are under here. I've got myself a ratchet with a 17 millimeter and a short extension. I'm probably going to take the extension off to get the bolt started, and then use the extension just to hold the bolt itself. I've also got 2 rags. One I'm just going to set right here. That's where I'm going to drop my bolt. And then the other one I'm going to have kind of off to the side, out of the way. So I think we're ready to start trying to take this guy off. Now, I expect that the oil is going to come shooting out this way on me, so I've got the oil pan sort of index over that side. I have been driving this car around this morning, just getting it warm, getting myself familiar since, it's a new car to me. And I gotta say, it is pretty quick and stiff. That's what you want. So, it is a 17. That's great. Got it broken loose. No, it slipped off. That's not good. Okay. Okay, now it's loose. Great. So, I've been driving it. I expect that it's pretty warm, and that's why I've got gloves on, rag ready, and I'm going to use this extension. I just keep my hands out of the oil, or at least out of the oil as much as I can. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, there we go. Now I'm actually on it. So, you might have noticed, hey, Ted, where's your glasses? Why don't you have your glasses on? And the answer to that is, I just didn't feel like wearing them right now. So, my vision's not perfect, but it's good enough. So, this trim piece is kind of in the way. I don't like this. I think I might just have to buck up and use my fingers. And for most people, it's not a big deal, but I have baby hands as far as temperature goes. I would never make it in a kitchen. I'll take my watch off here. No reason to try and get that all oily. And we'll just go with it. So, oh yeah, that's warm. Starting to get a drip. Come on. I don't want to drop this, but ooh, yeah, that's hot. That's hot. Good. Okay, well, hey, good news. I didn't get oil all over the floor, and that's a big win for first time oil change. So we'll let that drain out. I looked it up, and it's supposed to hold about 7 quarts, I think, something like that. So that's a pretty good amount of oil. We're also going to eyeball what comes out of this. One of the annoying things with these cars, I'll show you on camera when it's time, but there's no dipstick. There's no mechanical dipstick, at least not that I'm aware of. If you know of one, please let me know in the comments, and I'll give you all the credit in the world. But instead, what you have to do is get it up to temperature and let BMW, let the car measure the oil level for you. Which in theory isn't terrible, but kind of sucks for me. So anyway, not a lot exciting going on here. We're just going to go ahead and let it drain. All right, now that it's drained some, I'm off camera, but I'll show a picture here. I'm going to actually open the oil fill, and that just lets it drain so it's not sealed from the top. Realistically, your oil fill or that oil cap isn't totally airtight, and so it shouldn't make a big difference, but, it's a good practice. Okay. So, up here on top, right here you can see I've gone ahead and opened the oil fill, so that just helped it drain a little bit. The other thing I've got now is my Wix filter. You can see I've marked it 135. That's because I've got so many cars, I got to keep track of what stuff's for. But the nice thing with the Wix filter, it does come with a whole new O-ring for the oil filter and that brass guy hanging out in there, and that's my new crush washer. So I'm going to get that out, and I'll put that drain plug back in, and then we'll start working on the oil filter. Okay, so I've got my oil drain plug. I've got my old crush washer. These are single use, so if your oil filter kit doesn't come with it, get a new one. You can sometimes reuse them, but it'll just leak, and no one likes oil leaks, so don't mess around with it. Just get a new one. So I've got that off of there. Just gonna kind of rub this oil drain plug around. Yeah, that plug's a little worked. I might order a new drain plug, maybe a magnetic one. It'll just show me if there's any filings or whatever coming off. So go ahead and get one of those ordered for next time. But I put my new crush washer on, and now I'm just gonna hand thread that in there a little bit. So this is an easy thing to get cross-threaded and really make your life miserable. So swapping out an oil pan sucks, and take the time here to just be careful, make sure you got the threads right. If you're working too hard on it, it's probably not threaded correctly, and just take a step back and undo it a little bit to get the threads on there correctly. So put my 17 socket back on the ratchet. I don't want to go too tight with this, but I do want it snug, so that should be good. And now, just as a matter of practice, it's a good idea to wipe up around where you're working. That way, if it does start leaking oil, I know that it's not just oil I left sitting on the thing. Instead, it's new oil leaking. And that's all the excitement we get down here. So normally there'd be like a panel here covering this. It looks like maybe it broke off at some point. Can't be too surprised by that when you're getting into track cars. So no big deal. I've got 1% worse underbody efficiency, and if I can't make up for that, I'm probably not that good of a driver. So we'll move up top and we'll do the oil filter. All right, we're back up top here, and so now I need to remove my oil filter. So this is the oil filter cap. I've got this whole housing that it's in, and what it looks like is this guy here. It'll just be a paper filter that comes right out, and I'll swap this guy back in. We'll nab this here O-ring, put that back on this housing cap, and then we'll be all set. So I'm going to just set that aside. As far as special tools here, they make all kinds of special oil filter wrenches. This Fram one I got 20 years ago. Certainly got my mileage out of it. They also make special things that like go right on top. I think they make aftermarket caps here that have like a ratchet, I think a 3/8 ratchet input on it, where you can just use a ratchet on it. This works for me. If I mar it up too bad, maybe I'll get one of those metal ones with the ratchet top on it. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and just get it loosened a little. I think. Oh, man. That's on there snug. I can't get a good hold on this. I might use one of my other tools, but let's see. There we go. All right. You generally don't want to put these on too terribly tight, but you do want it to seal all the way, so it's not uncommon that these are real snug. Not too alarmed by that being as tight as it was. One thing to note, I did seal up the oil drain plug, but I still have my oil pan down underneath, and the reason for that is I'm going to end up dripping just a little bit of oil here, and hopefully it goes into that oil pan. It shouldn't be a whole lot because of the way these are designed. You'll see, taking this cap off. By the way, most people by now would be just using their hands. In fact, I guess I'll go ahead and start, but like I mentioned, baby hands. I'm not, don't handle temperature well. I've got myself a rag here. I'm just going to use that to kind of swap everything out. In fact, I'm going to put that there, put that there. That way I can put the filter right here in this box, and I'll go toss it in the garbage. Usually I try to put like a plastic bag in it. I just don't have one handy, so it'll be what it is. So and let that sit for a sec because that is warm. You know what? If you don't like warm temperatures like me, sometimes you adapt. You just grab yourself a rag. Just give yourself a little more temperature insulation here. So that guy's pretty stuck on there. Usually they just pop right out. Okay. Pop that in there. I'm going to set that back down just for a sec. I'm going to go throw this out before it starts leaking, although it didn't seem that soaked. Okay, so on this oil filter lid, kind of holds the whole oil filter in place. There are two O-rings. The first one is this itty bitty guy down here, and then there's this one up here that stops it from leaking internally, or externally, I should say. Both new ones come in my new Wix kit. I'm generally too lazy to do this one because this little one is a royal pain, and I've never had it leak on me. So I don't replace that one. Probably should, but so sue me. I'm going to go grab just a screwdriver to get this guy off, and then we'll put the new one on and filter in, and then we'll start filling up oil, and we're going to be set. So I'm going to show, hopefully this comes through on camera. Yeah, look at that guy. So this is just an itty bitty little screwdriver. You could use a slightly larger flathead screwdriver. You could use a pick. You could use a special tool for this, but really all you need is just something that'll get underneath there so you can sort of pry it up and then get it off the rest of the way. There we are. Where do I want to put this? I guess on that. Cool. Now I'm going to grab this big new O-ring, and I want to put it on there, and then I'm going to put just a skosh of oil on it. You just want to lubricate it a little bit so that it seals. Putting the new one on is a lot easier when these get hot and cold like they normally do. They get a little snugger, and it can be harder to take off than they are to put on. So I mentioned I was going to put just a little bit of oil on it, so that's why I've got my 5-quart jug here. I'm kidding, I'm not going to put 5 quarts on, but this is just my only one that's already open. So I just lean it over to get some on my finger. And now I've got an oily finger. Just going to rub that around the edge here. Great. Man, this thing's still hot. I can't imagine if it was a metal one. All right. I'll put the new filter on. It goes either way. You don't need to put it in any certain direction, at least for these cars. And then just hand thread it in, just like everything else. Make sure you're not forcing it. If you're forcing it, you're probably cross-threading it and causing yourself bigger problems. So it's pretty slow to tighten it with that tool, so that's why I'm just using my hand as much as I can. Okay, that's pretty snug. So now I'll use the tool just to get it finished off. There it is. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to toss this guy. I'm going to get my funnel. We'll start putting oil in here. Okay, so I mentioned we'll look underneath and see about how much oil we drained out, and this is probably around 7 quarts, is what I've read. So I'm going to start with this jug that I already had open. I just did an oil change on, I think, the 911. I have some left over. But I'm looking on the back side here. I'm not sure if that'll come through on camera, but I've got about 3 quarts left in this. So I've got 3 in here. Each of these is about 5. So I'm going to put 3 in from this. I'm going to put another 3 in from another jug. And then I'll take a peek at where it's sitting, see if that looks right. So, well, now there are specialty funnels that fit exactly and do all that. I mean, realistically, if you're just good at pouring, you probably don't need a funnel on this car. There's a pretty big opening. But, if I've got a funnel sitting around, I might as well use it. Why make it harder on myself? All right, 3 quarts down. All right. I'm also going to put in this Liquimoly Ceratec treatment. I think they say that one of these is for 4 quarts of oil, so they probably want me to put 2 of these in, but I only have 1, and 1 is better than none. But this is like a ceramic coating additive. A lot of these additives for your oil systems are, quite frankly, snake oil. But I have used this once before on the 911. I've talked to a lot of people who've used it, and it's been good for them. We'll see if it makes any difference for me. But just one of those things I do on each of these cars, kind of once every few years anyway. So we'll put this guy in. That'll be another reason why I'm going to put 6 quarts in, is this is it's not a quart, but it's a bit of fluid. So and pour this milky looking stuff in there. So that'll make my oil look real bad when I take it out later. But that'll be I'll just remember that I put Ceratec in it, and that's why it looks like I've got a blown head gasket. That is what it looks like when you have a blown head gasket, by the way. It kind of looks like chocolate milk in your oil. So that's at least what coolant and oil mixed together looks like. There we go. 1 Ceratec down. Got my new jug of oil. I got to get it open, so just kind of pop that and then use my finger to get it the rest of the way. Peel this off. Just most of it out of the way. Don't need to get it perfect, right? Who cares about what your oil jug looks like? Okay, so now I'm going to do 2, 2.5, 3 quarts, something like that, and then we'll check it after the fact. So how do I know how long it takes to do 2 quarts? Well, a lot of time practicing this, you kind of get a feel for it, but also you just stop and check. So I have poured just under 2 quarts there, so I'm going to do just a skosh. There you go. Technical term. Added a skosh, and we are now, pretty much at 2 quarts. I'm going to do just a little more than that. I kind of want to go just over 2 quarts. So yeah, there we go. We're about 2 1/4 quarts or something like that. And I'll take my trash, take this, I'll take my funnel out. We're going to let that sit for a little bit, let it settle. If I had a dipstick, I'd check it after I let it settle for a little bit, but I don't have a dipstick, so we're just going to have to check it after I put it down on the ground to take it off the lift and everything. And I'm going to do some other stuff before that. So I'm going to flush the brake fluid. That's what I'm going to do, because Lord knows how long it's been in there, and on a track, that's something that you want to do. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to check the oil level on your E82 BMW 135i. I just changed oil in it. Unfortunately, these don't have a mechanical dipstick, so you have to rely on the digital one. So hopefully everything stays in focus here. But what you do is you come over to this left-hand stalk here, and after you've got the car running, press up until you see oil, and then click the BC button on the end, and it'll go check it. If your engine's too cold, it'll just sit there with the little clock that spins around. Maybe I'll capture a video of that later when the car cools down. Hopefully you don't have the Christmas tree lights that I do here, but you know, when you have a track car, yeah, you know, your TPMS and a bunch of other items are broken. Setting the date here, what is it, the 26th, I think, so I don't know why it was set so far off. I don't know, 27th today. Boom. Cool.